Go CFB, snap back on, check. Got a little black tea on, check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. When I tell y'all I've tried to start this dream the last 25 minutes and the problems I've been having, I'm telling you, somewhere out there, somebody is praying on our downfall, but it's all good. College football people, we are here. I'm Ant, bruh. It's been a day, and when I say it's been a day, oh my goodness, it has been a day. But it's all good, because you know what? For the next hour, I get to talk college football. My apologies to everyone. I try to be a time-bound person, time-oriented person. We supposed to start at 4. Just wouldn't allow me to start at 4. I went live on YouTube. It wouldn't connect to either one of the Twitters. It was crazy, but it is what it is. On today's docket, we're talking about quite a lot today. We're going to get into Preseason All-Americans. Of course, it's magazine season. So over the next few days, we're going to be talking about a lot of different magazine stuff. So Athlon Sports released their Preseason All-Americans. And of course, I'm going to get into where I agree and disagree and some of the changes that I would have made on there. Also, on today's docket, before I enter the news segment, we're going to get into Greg Sankey's kind of SOS to Capitol Hill. It'll be interesting to see what he thinks that the sport need. Also, he was recently out on a golf outing with the president. I think it's incredible that, you know, how tuned in our president Donald Trump is with college football. I think he's been to a handful of SEC games over the last few years, so it's kind of cool. Greg McElroy released his top 10 non-conference matchups of the year. We're going to talk about that as well. Also on today's docket, we're going to go around the nation in our Around the Nation segment and kind of talk about those G5 teams that I think they're going to shape this college football season. And those teams, there's 9 of them. I have 8 teams I think that have a legitimate shot at making it. Of course, the top 3 or 4 I think have an even greater shot. And I'm going to give you guys a sleeper team that I think that has a chance to make a college football playoff and nobody's talking about. Governor of College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ
Great defensive minds. They have to be better on that side of it. It is Tuesday, June 10th, another marvelous day to talk college football. When I tell y'all I've had an interesting day today, I've had a very interesting day. I had to get my dog Caden. He's taking a little like summer school camp type ordeal. Woke him up this morning, went to go take him to school. Car wouldn't start. I had to go calling an audible. My other car, one of the homies was using. Had to call an audible to get him to school. It was sad. And then, you know, had a bunch of interruptions today when I'm working on my notes to try to get y'all this content. And then the thing, we couldn't start on time, but it looked like this time might be a better time. We got a lot of people in here and we just getting started. So into the news, I'm so happy to talk college football. You guys have no idea. So Greg Sankey kind of sent an SOS to Capitol Hill. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey is once again calling for federal legislation to bring order to college athletics during a stop at the Texas Tribune's conversations on the future of college sports. Sankey pushed for national standards for current state-by-state NIL policies, failing young people and creating chaos. His main message, college sports can't fix itself from the inside. Congress needs to step in and provide legal clarity and ensure athlete protection. Sankey said without national solutions, schools will operate with fear of litigation rather than confidence with his rules. And this is kind of what, you know, we went over the story yesterday with James Franklin, coach of Penn State, was kind of saying, yo, like, it's like college football has become so transactional where, you know, you're getting the coaching to be transformational, to develop your players, do everything. So, yes, we do need help. And I think we kind of all are in agreement. I think we starting to find clarity this offseason because you're starting to hear, of course, within semantics, it's more semantics and more BS that you have to deal with. But I think we're starting to hear a lot of the same things within the realm. I think you're starting to see that people kind of agree we should go down to one portal window. The NCAA isn't the people that need to do this. The NCAA don't need to fix this. And I've been consistent with saying this. I know some people disagree with me, but I think the more that we hear the power players, the people who really matter, say these things, they're kind of along the same ideology that I have, that the NCAA shouldn't be responsible for fixing this because the NCAA has failed us for so long. So I'm not relying on Charlie Baker and company to fix what this is. Also, Charlie Baker and company, the NCAA, wanted things to stay within respects to amateurism. They wanted that 100%. So we do need some type of commission, some type of commissioner, maybe the NFL route, like they have with Commissioner Goodell, or in the past like they have with Paul Tagliabue, but somebody that is respected and somebody that's going to hold every team to the same standard. And then it's not like, how we get with a lot of things with, the SEC and the Big Ten kind of calling all of the play shots. We need somebody that's going to hold everybody to the same standard, same rules. I saw a story, Mac Brown would say, hey, we may need an NIL salary cap. I agree. That's something that we've said on this show. So I think there's three overarching areas or overarching themes that I think we need reform on. NIL, of course, the transfer portal is the second, and tampering is the third, because tampering is out of hand. And later on in today's show, we're going to talk about tampering. We're going to talk about tampering for a great deal and how I think it's truly out of control, and so out of control that I think it needs to be addressed. So while we always talking about numero uno and dos, which are NIL and transfer portal, I believe that tampering deserves the same amounts of critique as well. And I'm sorry, tampering deserves the same amount of critique as well. So Sankey sent the SOS to Capitol Hill. Greg McElroy's top 10 non-conference matchups. I told you guys I watch an awful lot of college football. I am a college football fanatic. Every night when I go to sleep, I'm watching somebody's show. I don't care if it was aired previously, something I missed. My television, my YouTube knows the semi-college football and always college football is a show that I like. I really respect Greg McElroy. I've said this before. I even have it on a short on my channel. If you're watching this on the YouTube right now, that said, there's people like Greg McElroy who deserves to be on the main stage. Why is his show restricted to ESPN YouTube? Put him on the main stage. He deserves to have his own college football show on ESPN. But anyway, here's his top 10 non-conference matchups for 2025. And we'll go 10 through 1 instead of 1 through 10. And I'll kind of explain it in a second. Wisconsin at Alabama, September 13th. This was a game that certainly got out of hand last season. I was in Madison. I believe both of these coaches got a lot to prove in year 2. It'll be year 2 for Kalen DeBoer, year 3 for Luke Fickell. And even though Luke Fickell was given an extension, I truly believe that he kind of is getting in line, because he ran the air raid before, but, now they're kind of going to the older style offense that Wisconsin used to run. But Wisconsin has a really tough schedule. We talked about tough schedules yesterday, and the only team in the top 10 that wasn't in the SEC was Wisconsin. They have a really brutal schedule this year. And while some people believe that contract extension for Luke Fickell will indeed save him from anything happening this season, and while I'm a huge Luke Fickell fan, I believe he's an amazing culture builder. He's got a lot riding on this season. So this game at number 10, I like the fact that it made the top 10. I think Wisconsin will be much improved. Billy Edwards is a guy that they have at quarterback that I've been able to see quite a lot the last few years. As if you guys do know, I am located in the DMV. I'm in Virginia. College Park ain't a far drive. We went there 3 or 4 times last season, so I've seen them a lot. And that Maryland and Wisconsin game will be one of those games. I love redemption games. That'll be one of those games that I think I'll be super excited to see. So that one's on September 13th. Coming in at number 9, we got TCU at North Carolina. That's on September 1st. I think it's a really good game. I think it's 2 of the kind of like the older school coaches still left in the sport. We got Sonny Dykes at TCU, who I think still has a lot to prove. We saw that magical season that TCU was able to have back in 2022. And, the last 2 years, they've been kind of almost getting to where they want to be again. But I think they got a dynamic player at quarterback in Josh Hoover. And we see Tennessee kind of try to, get him even though he wasn't in the portal. Like I said, that'll be a team that we talk about later for our tampering segment. But then North Carolina, Bill Belichick, September 1st is a Sunday game. It's a game that a lot of people will be watching. So it'll be interesting to see. Week 1 is filled with dynamic games. And I feel like this is consecutive years. We're getting great games. Week 1, I think, week 1 has made this list quite a few times already. At number 8, Clemson at South Carolina, November 29th. Greg McElroy. I love a lot of his takes. I already told you on the opening. I'm a huge fan of his. But Clemson and South Carolina at number 8, the only reason I could think that he has them this low on this list is because of, Clemson does appear on this list quite a few times. But Clemson and South Carolina, number 8, we're talking about a potential matchup. Rivalry week, the last week of the college football season. Of course, we do have Army and Navy week that following week. But rivalry week for most teams is the last week of the regular season, and we have a game that is probably going to have major playoff implications, and that's number 8 on the list. Greg, no. This game should be much higher. This game should certainly be much higher. I'm sorry. Clemson at South Carolina, November 29th, rivalry week, may just receive top billing that week when we're looking at games and we go to revisit this, because we could be talking about 2 top 10 teams. Seriously, because that's how much I believe in Shane Beamer in South Carolina, and that's how much I believe in Dabo Swinney and Clemson. These are 2 elite teams, good both offensively and defensively. This game will certainly shape the college football playoff, and we have it at number 8. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Number 7, we got Alabama at Florida State. This game's above Clemson and South Carolina. I mean, I know Florida State had a down year last year, and of course I expect Mike Norvell to be able to figure it out. He did lose both of his, offensive and defensive coordinators. Alex Atkins is a guy I'm a huge fan of. I think he'll re-rise in the ranks. It's crazy. I think he's at LSU right now, but Alabama and Florida State shouldn't be over Clemson and South Carolina. It just shouldn't be. I'm sorry. But that's at number 7, August 30th. That's another really slick, might be a good week 1 game. It'll be a measuring stick for both teams. Where does Mike Norvell have this team in Tallahassee at? And where's Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, and Ty Simpson at? Great measuring stick game for both teams. Coming in at number 6, we got Florida versus Miami. September 20th, this game is in Coral Gables. We saw Miami march into Gainesville last year and put hands and feet upon Florida. A lot of us, including myself, thought, dang, this might be the beginning of the end for Billy Napier. Not so fast, my friend, as the words of the great Lee Corso. That didn't happen. So, I'm cool with that at number 6. Now, do I think that would be a better game than Clemson, South Carolina? No. Do I think it'll be a good game? Yes. Am I high on Florida? Absolutely yes. Can Florida be in the SEC championship? Absolutely yes. I think Florida has the best offensive line in all of college football. They got a dynamic quarterback in DJ Lagway. I love the wide receiver room. They got a 2-headed monster at running back. So I'm high on Florida. I'm just not as high on Miami. And anybody who's been watching the show, for the last month or so, while we've been going live 4 times a week, no, I'm not really high on Miami. I thought Miami underwhelmed last year. As great as they play in games, as great as they look week, 1 against Florida. But there were just games last year where I feel like they left, meat on the bone. It was the same thing the year before in 2023. Remember the Georgia Tech loss? I felt sorry for the kid on the sideline who had that look kind of like Richard Sherman did in disbelief. Like, yo, we didn't nail the ball. Are you serious? So, yes, I think Miami is talented. I think Carson Beck will have a redemption year. But when I look at this program and I look at the fact that they should have been in the ACC championship last year, and I look at the fact that they probably should have been in the college football playoff last year, and they controlled their own destiny against Syracuse, and that did not happen. So, yes, I'm holding Miami to a higher standard. Yes, the people in 305 might not be happy about it. Yes, I have been very consistent on this. Also, yes, I'm used to when Miami was the U, when the U was the U. And year in and year out, they were able to construct elite rosters. Mario Crispo's been able to do that. They have the team on paper. They need to execute. We need to see it on the gridiron, 100%. Coming at number 6, so that's not a bad game at all. I still favor Clemson, South Carolina, which was at number 8. I favor it over Alabama, Florida State. I favor it over Florida, Miami. Well, I do think Florida is the real deal. I think we may get inverted what happened last year. Remember how Cam Ward and company marched in Gainesville, blew them out, boom. We all hitting the panic button for Gainesville. But Billy Napier had everything under control. I think it was very similar, for this year. I think we're going to see DJ Lagway and company marching to Coral Gables, come out with a victory, and then we probably will start hitting that panic button. And that game may get lopsided. That Florida team is talented. Go look at that roster. I don't know when the last time you went and looked at that roster. Go look at that roster. Coming in at number 5. All right. This game at number 5, I think it's a sneaky good game. And while I still don't think it's a better game than Clemson and South Carolina, especially as it pertains to when the game happens on rivalry week, but Texas A&M and Notre Dame will be a really good game. We got a good game last year out of these 2 teams. Texas A&M, I really want to see what Mike Elko, Colin Kahn, and company are, like where they at year 2. Marcus Freeman seem to have figured things out in Notre Dame. We got to see what will happen with this quarterback, situation. But I don't know. I'm interested to see. Coming at number 3, Michigan at Oklahoma, September 6th. I like this game. Do I think this game is a bit high? I'm not sure. I really like this game. I think I like the game more for the storylines. I really do. You got Sharon Moore, who played, offensive lineman for Oklahoma, going back down there, was able to even tweak his own suspension, right? So that he did not miss this game. September 6th, maybe one of the top Bill games, during that moment. But again, I go back to rivalry week. Clemson at South Carolina. I'm not sure I'm putting this game over it. I'm just being honest. It's one game I'll put over that game, and it's the game at number 2. The Battle of Death Valley, August 30th. We talked about how great week 1 is going to be. That LSU versus Clemson game, I'm more excited to see that than that big noon kickoff. Matter of fact, the big noon kickoff, I may be traveling because we're going about 4 or 5 games that week. I got a lot of places to be week 1. But LSU and Clemson is where I'm finishing my week. I think that is the top game of the week. I think we're going to get fireworks. We're going to see Garrett Nussmeier, my pick to win the Heisman this year, if Brian Kelly and company can figure it out, versus Cade Klubnik, who I have second on my list and my second favorite to win Heisman this year. They are going to light it up. That fan base is going to show out. ACC, you guys know I love ACC ball. I can't wait to see that game. I am way more excited about that game than I am Texas at Ohio State. And maybe the kickoff has something to do with it, but it also, it's the Battle of Death Valley. Come on, man. I can't wait to see that game. And I will be there in attendance. And at number 1, I kind of gave it away. Texas at Ohio State. So that's the top 10. We'll go 1 through 10 since we just went through 10 through 1. Let me know in the comment section how you guys feeling about it. At number 1, Texas versus Ohio State. Number 2, LSU versus Clemson, August 30th. Both of those games are August 30th. Number 3, Michigan at Oklahoma, September 6th. Number 4, Notre Dame versus Miami. That's August 30th. Number 5, Texas A&M versus Notre Dame, September 13th. Florida versus Miami, September 20th. Alabama at Florida State, August 30th. Clemson at South Carolina, way too low on this list. November 29th. TCU at North Carolina, September 1st. Wisconsin at Alabama, September 13th. Those are Greg McElroy's top 10 non-conference games of next season. We talked about Notre Dame a little bit earlier. We're going to talk about them a little bit more as their quarterback battle takes shape. This is going to be one of the most watched positional battles heading into fall camp. Marcus Freeman, who is on record as saying he isn't opposed to using a dual quarterback system this year. I don't know if that's a smokescreen. I don't know if he just wanted to put that out in the atmosphere. You guys know how I feel about dual quarterback system. Not a fan of it. Wasn't even a fan of it. And it's somebody I respect. The old ball coach when Steve Spurrier did it with Jesse Palmer and Doug Johnson. Wasn't a fan of it then. Not a fan of it now. But the two guys who are, fighting for the number 1 and 2 spot, CJ Carr and Kenny Minchie. I think a lot of people believe CJ Carr is going to win this battle. It'll be interesting to see what happens during fall camp. One thing I know about Marcus Freeman, he's gonna let this thing play out. So he emphasized that both are talented and competing hard. Freeman said he does not want the decision to linger too long into fall camp. Isn't that something that I always say? That I hate when quarterback battles linger too long into fall camp. And the reason being is because you start to get a divide, right? Yeah, this receiver may prefer this quarterback. That receiver may prefer this quarterback because, they have a better chemistry. Then you start to look at you like, who's leading? Both of them want to give, speeches and, break the team as the practice end. It's just too much going on. So I hate when fall camps bleed so far, when quarterback competitions bleed so far. So fall camp, we're getting too close to the regular season. Hey, make a sound decision. Middle of week 2 of fall camp, you need to know who your starting quarterback is. And they need to get majority of the reps. Because if we're splitting reps 50-50 and we're in like week 3 of fall camp, something has gone seriously wrong. That means neither one of those guys have earned his job, and you might have some trouble. That's 100% what that means in my opinion. So I'll be definitely watching this quarterback battle. Vince Merrill leaves Kentucky for Louisville. It's the end of an era in Lexington, and I think Mark Stoops going to be real hurt about this one. He was the, what do they call it, the associate head coach, assistant head coach? I forgot what they name it. But, they said that it was possible for him to leave leave Kentucky for Louisville a few seasons ago. And this here, we just talked about yesterday how pivotal the general manager role is in college sports. And here we are, Vince Merrill, somebody who's established, an elite pipeline as it pertains to high school recruiting, is now going and taking his SEC experience and helping him build Kentucky, because Kentucky has, long been looked at as a basketball blue blood, and football has been an afterthought. He's been there a very long time, so the fact he's going to go take that GM role at Louisville, I think it's spectacular for Louisville. And Jeff Brom and company continue to win. They continue to win. Alrighty, so we're going to get, and that's our Into the News segment. We're going to get into our second segment of the day, which is Governor Reacts. And we are going to react to Athlon Sports All-Americans. I'm going to read you the offensive and defensive All-Americans. Here and there, I'll also say where I think I would have placed, or who I would replace these players with. Couldn't find a graphic for it. Probably should have just created a graphic for you so you guys can see it. But, hopefully you guys can visualize it as I said. At quarterback, they had Arch Manning. Not surprising because, we all seen enough of Arch Manning to know that he's uber talented. I would have liked to see more snaps before I put him at first team All-American. My pick, of course, would have been Garrett Nussmeier or Cade Klubnik. That's not a knock on Arch Manning. I believe Arch Manning's ceiling is through the roof, but it's just based on what I seen at the collegiate level. Those would have been one of my first picks. It's Cade Klubnik or Garrett Nussmeier. And y'all know the kid from Baylor, Sawyer Robertson, is slowly moving up my list as well. Running backs, Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame, Nick Singleton, Penn State. I have nothing to say about that. They nailed it. Could you argue Mekhi Hughes, who was at Tulane and now was at Oregon? You could, but like I said, Katron Allen, if you're a Katron Allen fan like me, I do prefer Katron Allen over Nick Singleton. I do think Nick Singleton is dynamic, but like I said, it's just a preferential thing. All purpose, Desmond Reed from Pitt. I have nothing to say against that as well. There's a couple people you could have put in this spot, but the person I would have put in this spot is actually going to be said a little bit later. I just don't want to ruin it. So, wide receiver room, they got Jeremiah Smith, no complaints, and of course they got Desmond Reed, who was all purpose, but we'll just listen. Wide receiver, Ryan Williams, Alabama, Jordan Tyson, Arizona State. I ain't got nothing to say about that. I don't got nothing to say about that. I do think that Cam Coleman at Auburn's going to have a breakout year this year, especially with Jackson Arnold at quarterback. I'm not sure who I'm putting them in there over. So, like I said, I don't really got nothing to complain about at the wide receiver position. So, let's recap what we got so far. Arch Manning at quarterback, Jeremiah Love, Nick Singleton at the running backs. All purpose is Desmond Reed. Athlon Sports Magazine is out in stores. Phil Steele's is out digitally. And also, Lindy's college football, it's magazine season. Cop your magazine. I know a lot of us are traveling this summer. Copy you these magazines. I'm telling you, they'll make traveling a lot easier. I got a wedding to go to. Thank God it's in the summer because I ain't going to one in the fall. Also got a bunch of media days to attend to in cities that I do not live in. So those are commute. So those college football magazines will definitely hold me over. So quarterback Arch Manning, running back Jeremiah Love and Nick Singleton. All purpose Desmond Reed. Wide receivers Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, Jordan Tyson. Like I said, I don't really got a lot of complaints about that. Not too shabby. Tight end Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt. This is a lot of people's pick. I think this was the pick for Lindy's, and we'll get into that one a little bit later in the week or next week. And I think it's also the pick for Phil Steele as well. Phil Steele is personally my favorite magazine. I try to, tell as many people as possible that. For some people, it's too much information on the page. For me, it's perfect because I want all the intel as possible. My pick here would have actually been the kid, Jack Entries, who just transferred from Cal to Texas. I think in this offense, he's going to absolutely light it up. And like I said, I like Jack Entries a lot. Shout out to him. Shout out to his dad as well. Both of them follow me on Twitter, so shout out to the Entries family. But I'm a huge Jack Entries fan, so he's definitely, would be the starting tight end for me, just being honest. At center, they nailed it. I've been talking up Florida offensive line, for the last few weeks, but they nailed it with this one. They got Jack Slaughter, however you pronounce his last name, for Florida. I think he's the best interior offensive lineman in all of college football. No complaints there at all. I'm cool with that. With offensive lineman, they got Spencer Fano. They got Caden Proctor from Alabama, Spencer Fano from Utah, if you don't know. They got Francis Managua from Miami. And I know the 305 fans about to hate me, but I got a lot of love for the 305. I think every school in that area at the FCS level, FBS level, whether it's P4 or G5, we have a relationship with their school. So I promise you I'm not hating. It's just going to sound like it, but I promise you I'm not hating. But my pick would have been Caden Green, interior offensive lineman from Missouri for that one. That would have been the only change I'd have made on offensive line. And then Olave Vega, Ione from Penn State is on here. I don't got no issues with that. Defensive lineman, I think they nailed it, man. I really think they did. Dylan Stewart, CFB Nation been big on him. I got Nino been big on him for a while. So has D now. Colin Simmons from Texas. TJ Parker. TJ Parker is real deal. I love Clemson defense, and I love their offense as well. Peter Woods, Clemson, like I said, these are people that we've been able to see a lot. Love it. Linebackers, Anthony Hill. I mean, hell, if Caleb Downs wasn't in college football, and I can see if people say, hey, Anthony Hill may be the best defensive player in all of college football, I think Caleb Downs is the best player in college football, period. Anthony Hill is certainly up there. Whit Weeks from LSU was on here as well. It's just that to see this LSU defense is going to be nice. That's why I'm saying, like, the pressure's on Brian Kelly, bro. The pressure is 100% on Brian Kelly to get this thing right. Kyle Lewis from Pitt, everybody's talking him up this offseason. And Torian York, Texas A&M. I like the linebacker room. Cornerbacks, Leonard Moore from Notre Dame. Jamal McCoy, my guy from Tennessee. He's one of those gritty cornerbacks. He's really aggressive. I like him a lot. And if he picked that thing off, he's looking to take it all away. I think Dalen Everett, kid from Georgia, definitely deserves a seat at the table. I ain't replacing him with McCoy. Some people probably prefer Everett or McCoy, but if it were me, I'd probably have Everett and McCoy as my two starting corners, for the preseason All-American. Safety Caleb Downs, that's a layup. That's 100% a layup. I think he's the best player in all of college football, offensively or defensively. And then we got Dylan Thieneman from Oregon. I like the kid Michael Taft from Texas. I would have probably had him in over Dylan, just edging them a little bit. Special teams, they had kicker Dominic Zavada from Michigan, punter Brett Thorson from Georgia, kick return Keelan Marion from Miami, and then punt returner Josh Cameron is the all-purpose guy I considered in this spot. Y'all know I'm a Baylor fan at this point. Not really a Baylor fan, but this season I'm just high on Baylor. So they had Josh Cameron. I would have considered him, for that wide receiver spot. So we just gonna go through the offense and defense one more time. Like I said, not too shabby. Would have been some changes I made naturally, probably. But some of the changes I made, overall they did a pretty decent job. Like, cause it's difficult. It's 136 teams, bro, and we trying to choose, who we think that the creme de la creme is, and it really just depends on. I think some of these are projection based. If I'm being honest, like not just about, hey, where do you have this team at this year, or where do you have said player at, after last season, but also where you project to have said team or said player, headed into the following season. I think that matters as well. So quarterback Arch Manning, like I said, it been Cade Klubnik or Garrett Nussmeier for me. Running backs, no issues with Jeremiah Love, Nick Singleton, all purpose, Desmond Reed. Josh Cameron definitely would have had a seat at the table for me. Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State wide receiver. Ryan Williams, Alabama. Jordan Tyson, Arizona State. Tight end, they had Eli Stowers. I like him from Vandy, but I prefer Jack Entries. Tight end that's transferred from Cal to Texas. Center, Jake Slaughter, Florida. Offensive lineman, Spencer Fano. Caden Proctor, Francis Managua from Miami. I forgot how you say his name, but I believe he's at ACC Media Days last year. My pick would have been Caden Green and then Ola Ayon. Penn State defensive lineman, I think they nailed it. Dylan Stewart, I think this is the group, and I think wide receiver might have been the ones I think they 100% nailed. Colin Simmons at Texas, TJ Parker, Peter Woods. Linebackers, Anthony Hill, Whit Weeks, Kyle Lewis, Torian York. Cornerbacks, Leonard Moore, Jamal McCoy, huge Jamal McCoy fan. Like I said, my additional mention on the guy that I feel like deserves a seat at the table is Dalen Everett from Georgia. Safeties, Caleb Downs, Dylan Thieneman, Michael Taft from Texas. He deserves to be on the list. And then special teamers, Dominic Zavada, Brad Thorson, and Keelan Marion are the guys that I will have on this list. So before we get into this governor's ruling segment, how bad is tampering in college football? We're going to take an ad break. Don't you guys touch that dial. We'll be right back. Look at you out here using all these other sports books and you ain't even using the best one. BetUS, get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly, 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the off season, even though we don't celebrate that. CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7, but there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins? OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping when the Kentucky Derby hits town. Bet US has you covered in that way too, with all major horse racing events. Point is, type in that promo code CLB Nation and go get that money.
Alrighty, so we're back. Not sure what happened to my camera. Let me figure this out real quick. Oh, I need to add it. That's what's going on. Give me a second. I forgot I hadn't used this style for governor's ruling for a little while. So we're back. Go ahead and paste that. There I go. Gotta love live streams. Anyway, so governor's ruling, how bad is tampering in college football? We've been consistent on the show. We've been very consistent on the show. We've said it week after week, and I feel like I've said it for the last couple of years. College football is still the most magical sport on earth. The questions I propose to everybody, and I always like to say, like, you know, has the semantics of college football changed your mind on what Saturdays feel like in the fall? For me, absolutely not. College football is still the best sport there is. You know, the pursuit of perfection that you have in college football, you really don't get in any other sport. You truly don't. You just don't. Saturday atmospheres are still electric. The rivalries are still heated. The feeling when that band kicks in on third down in a pack-out stadium, that hasn't changed. I do have the amazing ability to travel and go to schools and see this game from the field, and as electric as this game is on television, I still do enjoy watching the game on television. When you're in the stadium and you in those atmospheres and the things that you pick up during TV timeouts, like I said, there's nothing like it. I've been at NFL games and I've been bored at NFL games. I have never been bored at a college football game. I'll promise you. I don't care what level it is. I've been at FCS games. I've been at G5 games. I've been at P4 games. I've been in the biggest stadiums. I've been in smaller stadiums. Been at HBCU games. Like I just enjoy it. 100% enjoy it. And I really love when we do HBCU week every year. So the semantics of college football suck. It is what it is. But what we truly need is structure. And in my opinion, it boiled down to three major things that continue to cast the shadows over the sport we love. But mostly in the offseason, because in the season, I don't think we really care about it. NIL reform. We've covered that here. Everyone needs structure, transparency, and a basic framework that protects the players and the school. We 1,000% need NIL reform. You know, whether it's via a loyalty bonus for players, stay with team for consecutive seasons. You know, whether it's an NIL salary cap, something that Mac Brown introduced, something that I talked about this show. I forgot what episode it is, but if you go back and you go on YouTube or on Spotify, whichever is your preferred method for watching Governor College Football VODs, go back, it'll like you'll see, I forgot who I had the picture of, but it'll say NIL loyalty bonus. It was either the episode before that, and then we covered it on the governor ruling segment. I believe that we agree on, I think it was an $18 million salary cap, maybe a $20 million salary cap. I'll have to go back and re-look at my notes for that show. But transfer portal regulation is the second overarching theme I think we need. We've been vocal about this one too. One window, I agree with a lot of the coaches are saying. Kelly Dillingham, Lance Leopold said it. James Franklin has said it. Ryan Day has said it. A lot of coaches believe the same thing that I believe. We need one window. That window needs to be in January after the national championship, if possible, because I know a lot of the semesters start like that last week of January. So, of course, you know, when these kids enter the portal, they're not just athletes, even though they're being paid like they're just athletes. They're also students. So, you know, they got to be able to transfer, get in there. So that's why I think they have it when they do have it. If we can figure out a way to move the playoffs up, move the national championship up, so there's about a 2 or 3 week window so these players have opportunities to visit the schools they like and then, you know, make their final decision. But either way, like the current system feels like free agency and kind of free agency, a chaotic free agency. You know, because even though we know there's tampering in the NFL, I don't think the tampering in the NFL is worse than the tampering in college football. I truly don't. And then the third overarching theme is I don't think getting enough people's attention. It's the tampering. Tampering is bad. It's terrible. So yes, we need NIL reform. Yes, we need transfer portal reform and regulation, but we also need tampering reform and regulation. We 100% need it. That's why I say they're all three equally important. So let me say this clearly. Tampering is real, it's rampant, it's reckless, and if college football leadership doesn't get serious about addressing it, then it will be everyone else's we're trying to fix. The NIL, the portal, roster stability, none of that matters. Let's unpack this. So like I always like to do, I always like to give a little bit of backstory before I really truly get into these governor rulings. I do love these governor ruling segments, and while we won't see these as much in season, because the governor ruling is more of an off-season thing, as we sit and as we analyze and, are analytical about how we feel about the sport, this season there'll be a lot of, reacting to games, giving predictions about games, doing deep dives, film study, all of that stuff. Those will be most of the segments we do. And governor ruling will be, every now and then I'll throw in a governor ruling segment, but it's mostly an off-season thing, to be honest with you. But pre-NIL era, you recruited out of high school, and barring a rare transfer or, NFL departure or somebody just graduated, you built around that player for 3 to 5 years. You can get a kid, and you have a kid for 3 to 5 years. You build pipelines, you build culture. Granted, in some instances, the coaches had way too much power back then. I'll 100% admit it. And now I feel like they're powerless. So while I'm not agreeing with either side, I believe if we address the reform that we need in all three of these arenas, we can kind of have a happy medium. If there's any such thing, if we're being honest, like you knew what your roster would look like 2 years down the road. And players were okay with redshirting. Like we're seeing a player like Derek Harvey redshirt his first year. Florida, put him with their strength and conditioning coach. They fed him, he gained weight. A couple years later, he's entering the NFL draft. Like we seen that. Like it wasn't foreign for that it wasn't foreign for you to redshirt. It wasn't foreign at all. Now players redshirt, they're entering the portal. They 100% entering the portal if they are forced to redshirt now. Granted, I think the idea of freshmen has changed quite a bit, since those times. Because some freshmen, you look at some of these players have had one-on-one coaches for years, since they're like 7 or 8 years old, some even younger than that. So they've had people helping them work on their conditioning and work on their nutrition and their diet and help them. Like they've been working on their game for so long, they know what they wanted to do for so long. I say that's the difference between now and then. We ain't had no one-on-one coaches back then. You want to get better, you better go play in the street. You better go run around the streets or something, play tag, two-hand touch, throw up tackle. That's how we got better. Same thing with basketball. How we got better, we'd go to the rec, we'd play against older people, and that's how we got better. We worked on our game, and then when it came time for your rec leagues or your school leagues, you were ready. That it wasn't. It was there, but it wasn't readily available like it is now. Like I take Caden to the gym 4 times a week to work on his basketball game. Every day I go there, there's somebody else, having one-on-one workouts with either their kids or somebody else's kids. This is just how far sports have grown. But when I was younger, we wanted to get better. We had to go do that on our own, right? So yes, these players are a lot more talented now. Coming in, they're more ready, as they enter in campus. And then of course you got the early enrollees. So most people who graduate, prom, all of that good stuff in May, and then they're not seeing that first collegiate action until fall camp. And by the time fall camp is around, you got 3.5, 4 weeks before the season start. You don't get enough time. Versus an early enrollee, get to campus, they get to do the circuit trainings and the off-season workouts, and they get to prepare for spring camp. Then they get all of spring camp, right? And then they continue to prepare. By the time fall camp come around, they've already learned the playbook. They already kind of figured things out. They've already got a semester of school, under their belt. So now it's a little bit easier to navigate versus you being a freshman back then, got fall camp, then school starts, and then you're trying to manage school and everything. You get a whole semester to kind of figure this thing out with the early enrollees that we see. But yes, back in the day, it wasn't foreign for players to redshirt. You got 3 to 5 years to build your team. I promise you. It was a lot easier. It was a lot easier to build culture. You knew what your roster would look like 2 years down the road. But in the NIL era, you have to recruit your players that's already on your team, and you got to do it every single day. You're not just coaching anymore. You're pitching, protecting, negotiating. Because even if your player is thriving and happy, another program might be whispering in their ear behind the scenes. These programs got these players' number, these programs being these players' DMs, and most of the time, they already know how much NIL they can offer a player. And if y'all want some examples, we got some examples. It's going to hurt some of y'all feelings, but yeah, we for sure got examples. Let's get into the specifics. Because this isn't a hypothetical thing anymore, these stories are real recent and troubling. Tennessee. Number one on the list. That's why we saw Tennessee on the screen. After parting ways with Nico Iamaleava, they started looking for quarterback help, as anybody should do. But instead of looking directly in the portal, and I'm not saying they didn't look in the portal at all, but instead of going to where players like, hey, pick me, I'm available, they allegedly reached out to Avery Johnson at Kansas State. Wasn't even in the portal. I'm like, yeah. And from what I heard, that was mutual interest. I'm like, Avery Johnson about to lead the Little Apple? He about to leave Manhattan, Kansas? And go to Knoxville? And in my opinion, is that an upgrade in a veer and shoot system from Nico Iamaleava? Even though I'm a Nico Iamaleava guy, I believe he's going to thrive in Tino Sinceri's system at UCLA. But damn, Avery Johnson in a veer and shoot with his skill set, sheesh, that's an upgrade. In my opinion, I like Big 12 quarterbacks. That's an upgrade. So while I can get it, but that kid wasn't in the portal, Tennessee. You didn't have the right to reach out to him. You see the coaches, the assistant coach, offensive coordinator, everybody following him on social media. And you know, man, bro, listen, let me tell you something about the internet. The internet don't miss. They taking screenshots, everything. So y'all be caught red-handed, and that'd be the funniest part. So yeah, Avery Johnson, stud quarterback in Little Apple. I really like what he has there. I truly do. And, you know, the fact he had to learn a new system last year still was productive. I was a little bit, disappointed in Kansas State last year. But, the kid can ball. Wasn't even in the portal to try to go get him. Same thing. Tennessee. TCU, Josh Hoover is documented. Wasn't in the portal. They know this kid got an immense amount of talent. We got high expectations for Josh Hoover this upcoming season. He wasn't in the portal. Tennessee still try to get in contact with him. This is textbook tampering. I just gave you two examples. Tennessee Avery Johnson, Tennessee Josh Hoover. All right, I ain't trying to hate on Tennessee the entire time. Darian Mensah, Tulane quarterback, balled out last year. Enters the portal, right? Less than 48 hours later, he has a fully structured $8 million NIL deal with Duke. So you mean to tell me that the moment that it opened, within those first 48 hours, they were able to set all of that up? And y'all don't think it was no tampering or any funny business behind the scenes? That deal was done, bro. And that deal was done before he entered the portal. I tell you that right now. I truly believe that. BYU, shame on BYU, was allegedly, all these are allegedly, I believe them, but they all were allegedly, was caught trying to lure players off of Utah's roster, none of whom had entered the portal. This is crazy. We heard coaches, we heard Trent Dilfer say it. They said, I wish I would catch a coach with one of my players' DMs. And Trent Dilfer stand on business. So I believe he really do feel that way. And then December 2024, just recently, right after this past, college football season, Jim Moore Jr., UConn's head coach said outright that teams were tampering with his players and that he will pursue every option to fight it. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. He got the right to come out and say that. He truly do. And even more recently, I just heard this one today. I didn't know this one. This was intriguing to me, extremely intriguing to me. Alabama reportedly made a push to flip SMU star quarterback Kevin Jennings. Wasn't in the portal, but they said they definitely reached out. And Kevin Jennings balled out last year. And if you look at Kevin Jennings' skill set and you look at the system that Ryan Grubb liked to run, you say, might be a good fit, right? I mean, that's what I say to myself. Yeah, Kevin Jennings would be a good fit. But I think Ty Simpson balled out this year, one of the MVPs of the spring season, so you can't get upset. You know what I'm saying? I think Ty Simpson went out and earned everybody's respect in Tuscaloosa. So, yeah. But I don't know when this happened, but I read a story today that, hey, it's after Kevin Jennings. You think of Ryan Grubb's system, you think of that wide receiver core, you think of Kevin Jennings' skill set, how well he runs the RPO. Just saying. I'm just saying. We always talk about NIL and the reform that we need. It's understood. We always talk about reform and the transfer portal. It's understood. We don't always talk about reform and tampering. I think there needs to be more discussion on this topic. But why is it so dangerous? Because it destroys roster trust. It discourages development. We talk about development. James Franklin was just talking about being a transactional coach versus a transformational coach. These things matter. It pulls young players into chaotic decision making. We saw that. We saw both Tennessee side And both Nico Iamaleava and the people around him, I think both sides, while I do get it from Nico's side, I do, and I also get it from Josh Heupel and Tennessee side, I get it 100%. You can't allow one player to continue to do the same thing. But for Nico's side, they misread the room. They misevaluated the room. So this kid is taking less money at a new school. Now, do I think the new school fits his skill set? Yes. Is the new school still roster building? Yes. Deshaun Foster has had 1 year of recruiting under his belt, but let's be honest, Chip Kelly did a terrible job recruiting his last year there. If you look at the free falling that UCLA did his last year there, Chip Kelly wanted out of head coaching at the college football ranks. He wanted out. I quite frankly don't think he gave a damn. I'm just being honest. You look at what they were able to do with their 2022 class, the 2023 class, 2024 class it wasn't good. So Deshaun Foster still hasn't built the roster he wanted to build. He's been able to get active, via the portal. Got a great hire in Tino Sinceri as his offensive coordinator. We seen Tino Sinceri last year with Indiana. But like I said, it discourages roster development. It pulls young players into chaotic decision making. I'm quite certain that Nico Iamaleava, so what Darian Mensah got, his NIL deal, $8 million. It was like, yo, I'm getting paid $2 million. And yeah, I know I only had 19 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, which isn't too shabby. I led my team to the college football playoff. Like, yo, and Buddy getting $8 million. I ain't even asking for $8 million, bro. Just give me what I'm worth. Give me $4 million. Give me $3 million. Give me some. So, but he still ended up losing in the end because of that chaotic decision making. Because there is no reform. If tampering continues unchecked, the entire point of building through high school roster becomes somewhat irrelevant. I think that there are certain coaches like a Dabo Swinney who just found a way and it works. Like the team, the players, the coaching staff, and this is on the gridiron and off the gridiron, that they just believe in what Clemson is building. They truly build a family. You see how many former players are on that roster? Like CJ Spiller is their running back coach. Like they're truly building something. So I think he's outside of this realm of tampering. And while he has lost players via the portal, I think there's a certain amount of respect for him because that ain't how he built his roster. So if I'm a coach and I'm trying to get players out of portal, and of course people on your staff are going to poach and try to figure out, where players are at. But, if I'm a coach, I'm like, I'm not touching his team. That man ain't never said nothing to my players. He ain't even looking at my players. He want to build the players inside of his room. I wouldn't even mess with his team. I just wouldn't. But that's a gentleman thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would respect Dabo Swinney gangster so much, and I do respect this gangster because the way he's able to build his team, got one of the best constructed rosters in college football, and they mostly high school, players who've been in the system for the last 3 or 4 years. So it's interesting. So we talked about it. Chaotic decision making. Worst of all, there's no accountability, no penalties, no enforcement, just silence. If tampering continues to go unchecked, the entire point of building through high school becomes somewhat irrelevant. Clemson is an anomaly. But why develop a 3-star into an NFL guy if he's going to get poached after year 1? Legitimate question. Why invest in culture when your best players are always at risk of being bought out? What needs to happen? Strict penalties for tampering, loss of scholarships, postseason bans. Who's going to do this? Because the NCAA ain't going to do this. They say, hey, this is what you guys wanted. Y'all wanted the Wild Wild West. We not about to invest the time. We got other sports to care about. Y'all just think that the NCAA is all about college football. Well, yeah, I do feel that way. I ain't gonna lie. I think NCAA, I think college football. I don't think nothing else. It's no disrespect to any other sport. But I'm just saying, NCAA, like, yo, we got the World Series right now. We ain't think about college football. We got March Madness. We ain't think about college football. Like, that's their approach. That's 100% their approach. So strict penalties for tampering. We need clear definitions. And this is not something that the NCAA will do. I'll have to either be a commissioner or a commission, some type of board that's going to hold everybody to the same standards. As a general manager for the company that I work with, not for long, we leaving August 1st and doing this full time. Yeah, let's get it. But as a general manager, my number one goal as a general manager is that if anything has a gray area, get it away from me. I want things to be black and white. You're supposed to get to work on time. Royal Farms gives you Well, I said, now just say where I worked at. The place that I worked at give you a 5-minute window to get there. So if you do into work at 2 p.m. and they give you to 2:05, you come in at 2:06, you late. That's black and white. I don't care who it is. I don't care. If you're late, you're late. You're going to get coached. We need clear definitions. No gray areas. Nothing where you can, it's a loophole here and it's a loophole there. It needs to be black and white. It needs to be concrete. So yes, strict penalties for tampering, clear definition, transparency windows. When a player enters the portal, schools can contact them. Before that, they're off limits. They need to be 100% off limits. And if you cross the line, you need to be penalized. That's all. That's all we're asking for. Third party enforcement. The NCAA has lost trust. You guys believe in NCAA? I don't. And that's why there's talk about like somebody like succeeding from the union, like a SEC. I think them in the Big Ten could do it for football, not basketball, not baseball. Because, you know, their conference tournament and they would deem themselves the national champion. Nah, that just wouldn't work. But, you know, there needs to be third-party enforcement. That commission that we've talked about, a commissioner, somebody's going to hold everybody to the same standard. Truly. Like, hey, man, listen, it's in black and white. You contacted said person a day before the portal window open. Yeah, nah. You guys about to get penalized. We're going to take some scholarships from you. Something has to happen. We can't just continue to allow this to happen. We just can't. So third-party enforcement. So we love this sport, bro. And while we'll sit here and on governor ruling, we'll debate the semantics of the sport. I love this more than any other sport. The falls, I'm just chipper for no reason, just because I know, like college football is here. And then we go through that time period where we getting Tuesday games, I'm watching them. Monday games, I'm watching them. Wednesday games, I'm watching them or I'm at them. Thursday games, Friday games, Saturday games. I love it. And then on Sundays, I'm a Bills fan, so if the Bills are playing, I'll watch it. But this year, I'll probably listen to it because I'm going to be preparing content for the week for you guys. So on Sunday, in my office, I got my TV here. I'll probably listen to it, but then I'm watching film and I'm seeing what happened on Saturday because I'm on the road. This sport is still undefeated, young. As much as I talk about some of the issues with the sport, I just will always want to bring light to them because yes, we do have issues in the off season, but during the season we don't have no issues, bro. TV time slots maybe the only thing we can discuss. Ohio State and Texas kickoff being at 12 o'clock, we still gonna watch it. So yeah, we don't really got anything to complain about during the season. We really don't. We get to watch it. We get to talk about it. Let me tell you, I enjoy content more off season because of the when you're making these shows and try to figure out how you gonna do your hour show or however long your show is. It's not as much to talk about. In season, it's so easy. I'm going to watch the games. I'm going to be able to talk about them. So it's gonna be like easier. So I enjoy the off season more. Only because there's just more to talk about, and I think we can nitpick with the sport a little bit more. But as I've said before, this thing can't be lawless. Tampering is creating chaos behind closed doors that could eventually ruin what makes college football so special. Not in the fall, just in the off season. Truly. So this governor ruling segment. How bad is tampering at the collegiate level? I think is really bad. I think it's far worse than we know it is. I truly believe that. So we got 7 minutes left in this episode. Our next segment, Around the Nation, we're gonna look at the best G5 schools for the college football playoff. So shout out to my boy World of Moon. World of Moon talks. I want to say World of Moon is probably one of the few shows that I watch that probably talk G5 ball more than P4 ball, and I would argue he probably talks FCS, not more than FBS, but FCS probably more than Power 4. Like he will talk Power 4 ball, but he takes that World of Moon tagline and the World of CFB tagline very seriously, and he covers a lot of the sport. Like when you go to the CFBNation.com, you'll see that every G5 team last season, your favorite, every P4 team, your favorite last season, there was an article written for every game last season on the CFBNation.com. Make sure you guys check that out. THECFBNation.com. Every article you'll see there's an FCS sections, a bunch of FCS articles is written. HBCU section, a bunch of HBCU articles written. So I love when I get to talk about G5 ball. I don't talk about FCS ball much, but when I do, I'm hitting the moon like, what you know? Give me some intel, because it's not my focus. It's 100% not my focus. Now, I will go to FCS games, but it's not my focus. So, around the nation, best G5 schools, what teams have the best shot of making the college football playoff? Coming in at number one for me is Liberty Flames. I think this one is easy. Not because of my relationship with Liberty. Yes, we have a fantastic relationship with Liberty. I'm a season credential member. I do try to make it out to at least 1 or 2 games every year, just depending on what the week looks like. I try to make out to more this year, but I've said it before, I said it again. They got the easiest schedule in all of college football. 136 teams. They got the 136 toughest schedule in all of college football. I mean, they got the easiest schedule in all of college football. Jamie Chadwell, I think this is last year coaching at the G5 ranks. I looked at when he was at Coastal Carolina. I think some people will argue that this might have been a lateral move. I thought it was a progressive move. He knew what he was doing. I'm going to go coach in the Conference USA, cuz. And we going to make the damn thing happen. So, Liberty, they got an easy schedule this year. Yes, Caden Salter's no longer there. But I do like the kid, Ethan Vasco, that they got a quarterback. And I think they'll be just fine, to be honest with you, man. Like, I think they'll be just fine. I truly do. So, easy schedule in college football. We go down their schedule really quickly. Like the kid Julian Gray that they got from NC State via the portal. But August 30th, they play Maine. They play at Jacksonville State. I think Jacksonville State, wow, they've been pretty good these last couple years. I think Rich Rod is back in Morgantown. It'll be interesting to see where they at Bowling Green. 3-0 for me versus James Madison. That'll be the hardest game on their schedule, but I think they'll win that one. At Old Dominion versus UTEP, that'll be a tough game for them. Versus New Mexico State versus Delaware versus Missouri State. Delaware and Missouri State are new to the FBS, even though Delaware is returning a lot of production this upcoming year. At FIU, that'll be a tough one. And we may be, I know we won't be in a 305 that week, but it's possible we can go there. Versus La Tech, and then Kennesaw State is returning a lot of production this year. November 29th, but I got them running the table, bro. I got them 12-0. That's why I have them number one on my list. Coming in at number 2, probably surprise a few people. I like what's going on at UNLV. I truly like what's going on at UNLV. Dan Mullen is bringing swagger. And even though Las Vegas got, plenty of swagger, I feel like Dan Mullen is bringing a lot of swagger to UNLV. I truly feel that way. I really do. Like the construction of this roster, it looks like Alex Orji is winning the quarterback competition between him and Calandria. The kid, Jaden Thomas, I told you guys about him a lot. Feel like he wasn't covered that much because what Ashton Jeanty did last year was just so monumental. But, low to the ground, makes a lot of plays. This team is talented. Alex Orji could learn a lot from a guy like Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen is one of those guys, the accountability is going to be there. I did think he was mistreated during his time in Gainesville, but their schedule is it's not rough, but they're in the Mountain West. I do think they can compete in the Mountain West. At Sam Houston, much improved team at UCLA. I think we want to figure out who this team is after the first 2 games. Versus Idaho State at Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio be a tough out. At Wyoming, Air Force at Boise State versus New Mexico. Home against Colorado State versus Utah State. At Hawaii, at Nevada. That's UNLV schedule. So I got them as the number 2 team. Number 3's team. Hey, man. Boise State. Spencer Danielson is still there. They played August 28th versus South Florida. That's the game for me. That's the game for me because I'm high on South Florida. I'm going to foreshadow a little bit. South Florida is definitely on this list. And if you've been watching the show for a while, you probably already knew South Florida is on this list. But they play at South Florida. I'm edging South Florida. I ain't gonna lie. Even though I got Boise State ahead of them, for the best G5 teams to make the college football playoff, I'm telling you, they are. South Florida's dangerous, bro. If they can put it all together and stay healthy this year, they are very dangerous. Maddox Matson, it'll be interesting to see the type of progression he takes heading into this year. What does it look like without having Ashton Jeanty this year? Sire Gaines should be the guy running back. He had 156 yards, 7.8 yards per carry in the tutty last year. So what type of production can he have, behind Boise State? So it's at South Florida, then home versus Eastern Michigan, versus Air Force, versus App State, at Notre Dame. That's a tough slate, man. Versus New Mexico, UNLV, who I'm high on, versus Nevada, Fresno State, San Diego State. Wow. Colorado State, Utah State. That's a tough schedule. So I had Boise State at 3. I think it was mostly out of respect more than anything. But they have a really tough schedule. South Florida, I was just talking about them. They're in the AAC. Shout out to my guy, Alex Golich. They're returning 67% of their production. I like Florida State. I'm sorry. I like South Florida. Huge fan of what the Alex Golesh do, but they play Boise State week 1. They got a tough schedule too. At Florida, at Miami. Now, I have them number 4 on this list, but they can start out 0-3. And that's crazy. But they got to win 2 of those games. They ain't beating Florida, so it got to be Boise State or Miami. It'll be tough. Then they play South Carolina State. Charlotte. I'm high on Charlotte this year. I'm probably, other than the people who are in Charlotte and who are diehard 49er fans, I'm probably higher on Charlotte than everybody else is. At North Texas, Florida Atlantic, Memphis, UTSA, who's a really good team. At Navy versus UAB versus Rice. And Navy is another team extremely high on this list. I didn't know where I want to put them, but you look at Navy's return in production. You look at their schedule. Navy is dangerous. So I had Navy. Navy can do the damn thing. So I had South Florida at 4A. I had Navy at 4B. Tulane at number 5. The Green Wave, John Summerall. All John Summerall do is win. He did it at Troy. He showed it last year. Had Tulane in the AAC championship. They got Northwestern week 1. I'm high on Northwestern this year. Watch out for Preston Stone. At South Alabama versus Duke. At Ole Miss. That's a tough schedule. Tulsa. East Carolina is much improved. Army, UTSA. God damn, the schedule's tough. Memphis. Florida Atlantic at Temple and Charlotte. Toledo at number 6. Jason Candle's their head coach. August 30th at Kentucky. September 6th versus Western Kentucky. September 13th versus Morgan State. Definitely be a tune-up game. And shout out to Toledo, man. So Toledo's another program that shows us a lot of love. After that, at Western Michigan, Akron, at Bowling Green, Kent State, at Washington State, Northern Illinois versus Miami, Ohio, at Ball State, at Central Michigan. Number 7, Texas State Bobcats. I feel like they be so close, yo. Year in, year out. Shout out to J.G. Kinney. He's a guy that, here at CFB Nation, we've been high on a lot. They play Eastern Michigan, then at UTSA, at Arizona State. That was a tough 3-game slate. Versus Nichols, then at Arkansas State, Troy, at Marshall versus James Madison, Louisiana, Southern Miss, UL Monroe, South Alabama, UTSA Roadrunner. Shout out to Jeff Traylor. Jeff Traylor, somebody I've heard my guy Ward of Moon talk about a lot. They got at Texas A&M, then versus Texas State, then Incarnate Ward at Colorado State versus Temple, Rice, North Texas, Tulane, at South Florida, Charlotte, East Carolina, Army. Another really good program. That's another school with a lot of return and production. And you got to like a lot what UTSA have. They seem to continue to find luck at the quarterback position for some strange reason. But Owen McCown, at 3,400 yards last year, 63% completion percentage, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Did pretty well the year before in limited time as well. So I like what UTSA have, and they 100% deserve to be on this list. And I'm not mad if they higher on this list. Then I have one sleeper team. And the sleeper team that I have on this list is Charlotte. And I don't know. It's something about Tim Albin. I believe in him a lot as a head coach. We saw what he was able to do in his time during the MAC at Ohio. And while some people probably deem this as a lateral move, I deem it as a progressive move. I really like the AAC. I'm not high on the MAC. We have one program in Akron that is below the progress rate of what is it, 914? It's terrible. We have Kent State, who's done nothing but lose the last 2 years. So when I look at this move, you're in a city like Charlotte, a growing city, the Queen City. I call that my home away from home because I'm down there so much. I'll be down there in about a month and a half. I like this move. And then they got a kid, and Connor Harrell had quarterback. Used to play in North Carolina. I think he's going to light the AAC up this year. Their schedule is a little difficult, but we'll have to see where they're at. So this is my sleeper team. So I'm not saying they're going to be in a college football playoff, but if you look down the line, like, yo, Charlotte had a really good season this year. Don't be surprised, because that's my belief in Tim Albin, and I love the pieces that they've been able to get. But it's just year one. August 29th versus App State. September 6th versus North Carolina. Watch out for that game. I always talk about revenge games on this show. I talk about Jackson Arnold. September 20th heading to Oklahoma. Talk about Billy Edwards. I think that's week 4. Plays Maryland. Connor Harrell's going to want some get back versus North Carolina. Yeah, so watch out for that game. So if there's a game, you see, North Carolina struggling with Charlotte, bro. What's going on? Just know I called it. September 13th versus Monmouth. Thursday game versus Rice. And then, shout out to the AAC. Shout out to Mac Action. Shout out to Con USA. Shout out to the Sun Belt. Like, these teams aren't afraid to play weekday games. So they got a Thursday game versus Rice, followed by a Friday game versus South Florida versus Army. October 18th versus Temple. Another Friday game versus North Texas. November 8th versus East Carolina. November 15th versus UTSA. November 22nd versus Georgia. And then the last game of the season is versus Tulane. So these are the teams that I believe will compete for that G5 spot in the college football playoff, starting out with Liberty at number 1. I'm willing to bet Liberty will be in that spot. Just based on their schedule. Based on, I feel like it's Jamie Chadwell's time. I feel like last year was probably a huge wake-up call for the Flames. I feel like this year is going to be reinvigorated and really motivated to come out and kill this season. Jamie Chadwell will get a powerful job after the season. I guarantee it. Number 2, UNLV, Dan Mullen. That swag is in Las Vegas, man. Watch out for them. And that accountability is going to be there. Boise State at number 3, USF 4, 5, Tulane. And I forgot 4B is Navy. 6 is Toledo. 7 is Texas State. 8 UTSA. And then my sleeper team is the Charlotte 49ers for the CFB playoff to get that G5 spot. It's been a fun episode. They ain't want us to be great, bruh. I promise y'all, they ain't want us to be great today. They ain't want us to be able to go live. I had to call my boy Moon. I was like, hey Moon, man, something going on with Restream. So I stream from an application called OBS. I like OBS because I'm able to, put all of the graphics and stuff you see. I do that via OBS, but then when I stream on Restream, and then Restream takes that stream and that signal and sends it out to my Twitter, to CFB Nation's Twitter, and to my YouTube, and that way, we're able to stream on all 3 platforms at the same time. I think it's truly important to build a fan base because some people may like Twitter better, some people may like YouTube better, so... Yeah, so they was really trying to hate on us. We started late today. That's why we got a late end of the day. I normally start at 4. We had a lot of people in here at that 4:30 time slot, so y'all really got me thinking, but I'll probably keep it at 4. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in the sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, man, y'all take care. Y'all real ones. I appreciate y'all. I'm so sorry for starting the stream late today, but trust me, it was people praying on our downfall. But if you are part of the 1%ers, man, and you want to be a part of the 1%ers, we are the people who breathe college football 365. We're not those people who come back every year, August 1st, wanting to talk college football. We was here in January, February, March, April, May. It's year round for us, man. So if you want to be a part of the 1%ers, it ain't no weird Hollywood stuff. All you got to do is click that subscribe button over on the YouTube. My YouTube is at Governor College Football. It's real easy. Make sure while you're on there, also subscribe to CFB Nation's YouTube at THE-CFB Nation, man. Y'all take care. Governor of college football. We're gonna recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great defensive minds. They have to be better on that side of the ball.